Welcome to another presentation by Discovery Quests. In this video, we'll focus on a tiny slice of the rich history of ballet and examine how the stories are crafted, a little bit about how the productions come together, and then the video ends with a suggested writing assignment to help inspire some creative writing of your own. Now, there are hundreds of ballets that we could discuss, but for this video, we're going to focus on the Sleeping Beauty. Now, obviously this story was made popular by Disney, but the folk tale predates Disney quite a bit. It's actually a classic French fairy tale that's attributed to Charles Perrault, written in 1697. However, there are versions of the story that date back to the 1300s. The ballet version of the Sleeping Beauty was first performed at the Imperial Mariinsky Theater in St. Petersburg, Russia in 1890. It featured the ballerina Carlotta Brianza as Princess Aurora, shown here in the center, and Marie Petipa as the Lilac Fairy. It was a complete entertainment spectacle, and the full production lasted nearly 4 hours. Now, this stunning production would never have existed had it not been for the efforts of these two gentlemen. The gentleman on the left is Marius Petipa. He was the choreographer. He was born in France in 1819 into a family of dancers. He was a principal dancer in Paris and traveled to the United States and to Spain in order to perform. In 1847, he made his way to St. Petersburg, where he was appointed the ballet master for the Imperial Theater. Over his lifetime, he choreographed over 50 ballets, many of which were extravagant spectacles that required elaborate storytelling, so the dancers had to be both proficient technicians and also excellent at mime. The gentleman on the right is the composer Peter Tchaikovsky. He was born in Russia in 1840, and during his lifetime he composed over 160 pieces, including not only ballets, but also symphonies, operas, and concertos. The two men worked on 3 productions together. The Sleeping Beauty was the first in 1890. They also staged The Nutcracker in 1892 and Swan Lake in 1895. Now, Tchaikovsky originally composed Swan Lake for an earlier production, which was first staged in 1877 by Julius Reisinger. Petipa was known to be extremely exacting. When he would discuss a new production with Tchaikovsky, he would give very specific instructions for the score, what time signature he wanted used, how many measures of music he wanted devoted to particular sections in order to bring his artistic vision to the stage. So now let's take a closer look at the ballet, The Sleeping Beauty. And what I have here is a plot diagram which we'll use to map the story of The Sleeping Beauty. The ballet opens with the prologue, and we meet the king and queen who are hosting a party to celebrate the christening of the Princess Aurora. And they've invited much of the kingdom to come and celebrate. Among the guests are 6 fairies who are going to present gifts to the princess, including beauty, generosity, a beautiful singing voice, passion, and wisdom. Unfortunately, before the final fairy, the Lilac Fairy, can bestow her gift on Princess Aurora, the evil fairy Caraboose arrives, and she is absolutely incensed that she has not been invited to the celebration. She's so angry that she places a curse on the Princess Aurora and says that before Aurora reaches her 16th birthday, she will prick her finger on a spindle and die. Now, since the Lilac Fairy has yet to give her gift to Aurora, she changes her gift, and rather than she changes her gift so that to protect Aurora, and rather than having Aurora die when she pricks her finger on the spindle, she will simply be put to sleep for 100 years. So by the end of the prologue now, we have a classic fight between good and evil. We have our protagonists in the Lilac Fairy and Aurora, and our antagonist, the evil fairy Caraboose. So now we move into Act 1, which is entitled The Spell. Time has passed, and now we have arrived at Aurora's 16th birthday. For the past 16 years, the king has forbidden spindles and spinning wheels and anything else that might present a spindle where Aurora could prick her finger and experience the curse of Caraboose. During the celebration of Aurora's 16th birthday, 4 suitors arrive, and Aurora dances the beautiful Rose Adage. At the end of the adage, a stranger arrives, which is actually Caraboose in disguise, and she presents Aurora with a bouquet of flowers, and there's a spindle hidden inside, and of course Aurora then pricks her finger on the spindle and falls asleep. The Lilac Fairy returns at the end of Act 1 and enchants the kingdom. Everyone in the kingdom goes to sleep for 100 years, and the Lilac Fairy places a wall of thorns around the kingdom to protect it from intruders. Act 2 then opens 100 years later, and Prince Desiree is shown a vision by the Lilac Fairy of the princess sleeping in the enchanted kingdom. The Lilac Fairy leads him to the castle where they defeat Caraboose. He kisses Aurora, and the kingdom awakens. And then finally, we have Act 3, which is the wedding celebration between the prince and the princess. In the wedding celebration, there's something very interesting that happens. The wedding guests include a long list of characters that you might not expect to see in The Sleeping Beauty. In the ballet, there are variations in Act 3 for the White Cat and Puss in Boots, Princess Florine and the Bluebird, Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, Goldilocks, and several others. Now, these are all characters that are from other folk tales. And they were included in the ballet version of The Sleeping Beauty at the suggestion of the director of the Imperial Theater, Ivan Vesopolachevsky. He knew that they were characters that the audience would enjoy seeing and be able to identify. And I strongly encourage you to watch some of the variations. I'll put the links in the description below. And if you listen to the score that Tchaikovsky composed for each of these variations, and you watch the choreography that Petipa put together for each of these variations, it's quite clear that the two of them enjoyed working on this section enormously. It's quite interesting to see how they've interpreted the characters, both from a dance perspective and also from a musical perspective. Now, this technique of taking existing characters from other stories and bringing them in to enrich a new story is one that we see over and over again, not only in The Sleeping Beauty, but also in the ballet The Firebird, which is based on characters from different folk tales, and even in contemporary movies such as Shrek or Into the Woods. And this brings us to the writing challenge. So the writing challenge is simply to select 2 or more interesting characters from separate folk tales or other stories, and to write a story where their paths cross. You'll want to remember that in order to create a story, you need to have some central character or characters who have an objective or a goal, and then an obstacle or obstacles that get in their way. And you can use that to generate your plot diagram, where you'll have your exposition or your introduction at the beginning, where you introduce the characters and what they're trying to achieve. You have your area of rising action, where they have the obstacles that they have to overcome, and the climax, where they either are successful or not, and the resolution at the end, so that we know how the story concludes. If you visit the website www.discoveryquests.com, you'll find a few worksheets to help you get started on your brainstorming, and I hope you enjoy this activity.